Hello, you have made it to episode 406 with Chase. He wasn't going to be here.
Barely made it.
Barely made it. We are recording this on Thursday, January 9th. Chase has been out of town on work, and the Midwest is still cold, and that was a gargantuan effort, I suppose.
I drove 4 straight hours in freezing temperatures just to get to this recording of the Casual Hour.
I'm sorry for you more than anybody else. But yeah, I appreciate you making it work tonight. I was prepared to go solo. That would have been a weird thing, but I was going to try and do it. I'm just thrilled to have you here tonight. We've got a lot of cool shit to talk about game-wise, but if you are listening to this episode, we've typically kicked off the year with what we would consider like resolutions here on the show. But the way everything fell this year, we did our January games preview on January 1st. So we're going to dive into a little bit about not only our resolutions, but maybe some things that we want to see, like just stop doing, don't bring into 2025, and chat a little bit about
Leave that shit in the past.
Leave it in the past where it belongs. We're here to tell you about some cool shit and stuff that should stop around. So with that being said, Chase, you told me that you have not played anything, but you bought something that you will play, or is this going to be a backlog purchase?
Yeah, I mean, we spun a wheel last week, and yes, I purchased Bayonetta 2. So I have it. It's on the Switch. It's ready to go. I thought I was going to play it while I was out of town. I did not get time to play it while I was out of town, but I played just a tiny bit more Dragon Quest 3 over the last week, and that game's still delightful, but not much more to say about that.
Well, what I will tell you then is this: I need your help tonight because I've played a lot of games, and I'm not going to talk about. That
sounds like a thing you do.
Well, this is going to be gross for you, but this is kind of a thing I've been doing since we last recorded. Which, I mean, I guess I should say we did our January preview and we talked about a few things there, but I didn't really like air out my laundry of what I got up to while we took a break.
Okay.
And so I need your help. In our Notion document where it says a lot of games.
Yes.
I need you to click on that.
Oh no.
And I'm going to read these off to everybody because this is what I've been playing since 5,
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 games.
Now, not all these are new. Not all these are new.
Not all new. Not all these are like girthy of experiences. Yeah. Like, I mean, you have Pokemon TCG Pocket on here.
That's just like every day.
Yes. So have I.
Yes.
Like, how many, do you know, like, how many cards you need for each pack? Like, how many cards you're missing at this point?
The Mystic one's done.
You finished the Mew ones? Okay, I still have, I think, two from that one. I've got all the Charizard ones. I need like 3 from Mewtwo and 3 from Pikachu.
I know I need the most,
not counting like special versions.
Yeah, I did. That new Blastoise card is fucking awesome,
dude. So they have that solo event, and they had the solo event for the Venusaur, and I got 1 billion Venusaurs. I have gotten 1 singular Blastoise card.
Yeah, that's all I got.
And everything else has been Snivvies and Eevees. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? At least give me a second one in case I wanted to make a Blastoise deck. I need 2.
Yep. It's a fucking awesome card, though. So let me just do a quick rundown of this list. There are some new things on here again, but there's just some old stuff, too. AFK Balatro. Casual Hours Game of the Year, which I have been evangelizing at work to anybody that will listen to me.
You played Tactical Breach Wizards on Monday, correct?
I did play Tactical Breach Wizards on Monday. So out of the 16 games that Chase called out, AFK Journey, Balatro, Fantasian Neo Dimension, Helldivers 2, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Metaphor Refantasio, Pal World, Faybreak Update, Path of Exile 2, Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, Prince of Persia The Lost Crown, Satisfactory, Star Wars Outlaws, Tactical Breach Wizards, Tankhead, Uncle Chop's Rocket Chop, and Wild Bastards. I need you to pick 2 games from that list that you would like to hear about, and I will provide a third.
Okay. I guess spoiler warning for people at home, but I would like to hear where you are in Metaphor Refantasio, and I can,
I am not much further, Chase, than where we were at Game of the Year. You kind of
Okay.
took the wind out of my sails on that one.
I'm glad. I did that.
I got to that one new city by the water, and I had sat down to play that game. I'm like, you know what? I want to dive into this. I really am enjoying it, which I love this game, but it was a very, very, very cutscene heavy moment where I just felt like 25, 30 minutes went by and I had like no gameplay. And I got through it to, I was like, okay, I have control of my party again. I can go into this new city. And I was like, oh, I'm bored. That was a lot to get through. And so I haven't picked it back up.
You got through the worst part, which is a bunch of story stuff that probably doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. So you're at least back to a part where you would be having fun with the video game.
And I am gonna keep playing it. But it is out of this list. It's probably one of the ones I spent the least amount of time with.
Okay. Tell me about how is Fantasian Neo Dimension holding up on the Switch?
I'm not playing on the Switch.
Oh, okay. Well, how's it holding up on whatever device you're playing it on?
It is actually on the PC. It's nice. It's pretty bare bones as far as like visual options. It's a better port than what like a Diablo Immortal was, or I would say it's kind of on par for what you would expect from like a Genshin. Like if you play that on PC and you play it on your phone.
How does it feel with a mouse?
Great.
Yeah, I imagine it would.
Yeah, it feels awesome with the mouse. I that's honestly how I prefer it, but I shouldn't say that. I played it. You said, did you play on your Switch? I have been playing this on my Ally a little bit, and I like it there quite a bit too.
Okay. Yeah, I look forward to grabbing that at some point. Let me give you a third, because I feel like I've had kind of 2 swings and 2 misses.
Yeah.
Tell me about I was gonna say Tankhead, but I feel like you've talked to me about that.
I did talk about that one last week.
I don't think I know anything about AFK Journey. Tell me about AFK Journey.
Oh my God, Chase. This was such a dumb thing. This is maybe one of the dumber things I've done in a while. I don't know what. It's pretty dumb. It's pretty fucking dumb. This is the game that I sent you the screenshot for. And you're like,
oh, right. Okay.
Oh, what is this? And I was, because I mean, it looks really fucking slick. You know how the app stores always do like their game of the years or their apps of the year?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. AFK Journey was the Google Play Store like game of the year. And I've seen this like advertised on TikTok and other places. And I was just like, oh, it's one of those games. But it always had just a style. I'm like, this looks really good. Like this has a good look to it. And I think AFK is at least another game. I think it's called AFK Arena, if I'm not mistaken. AFK Journey is.
I mean, is it like just a play on away from keyboard?
I don't think so.
Okay, I didn't know if the AFK.
I mean, it
stood
could
for
be
something else, but
I mentioned Genshin, and you call this game out. You are getting 10. Like, hey, you have 10 envelopes or 1 envelope. If you can roll them and get your heroes. This is a mobile gacha game through and through. You are, but it's kind of fun on a strategy level. It reminds me a bit of Unicorn Overlord on the way that they present combat in this, where you are building a crew, or like you have all these characters you're unlocking, and you can work them up from rare to legendary to epic status, and you can get skins for them. You can get different abilities and equipment. And the way they do it is there are archetypes or skill sets, so warrior, mage, whatever it may be, and you are unlocking gear that goes into those loadouts. And so any character that is in that archetype is now accessing that gear when they're in combat. So you're leveling up your character, and you're leveling up the gear that everybody gets to share and use if they are of that type. And so when you get into combat, you have to kind of mix and match what they're going to be. And it is an auto battler in that sense, but everybody is kind of building up to like ults or bigger attacks. And there's a lot of really cool graphics and flashy elements that go with it. It's not overly horny compared to other games. It certainly dips its toe in horniness.
Well, that's too bad.
That's unfortunate. But
I thought they wanted to make money.
They are making a shit ton of money. And the way that they do it is they're like, hey, do you want this free thing? By the way, if you get this free thing, it gives you a deal on something that actually has a value of like 3,500%. Don't you want to buy this for $2 because you get all these other coins with it?
Sure. Yeah.
And
You'd be silly not to buy it.
They do the thing where it's like, hey, if you play the game, you get all this stuff, but we have a secondary premium battle pass beside it where if you get your daily login bonus with this and you get all that, I don't know why I've been playing this. Like, it's just kind of gotten to the point where it's like, hey, I'll open all my daily shit to see if I get new characters. I open my packs on Pokemon, and that's kind of my daily thing with my phone. It's like, okay, I checked in on these two things. I've got some really fucking awesome characters, and the battling stuff's cool. Like, there's like a daily... you were in the top 8% of people who completed this boss fight in this time frame.
No.
Yeah,
that sounds dangerous.
It is. But you kind of mix your party up and you have to take them in there. So it's free, but it's not. And I would say
it's free, but you'll never be free.
No, you should absolutely just go to the App Store and look at it at least. And
I remember, like, when you first talked to me about it. Now that I've heard a little bit more about it, I remember I did look up some screenshots and some video, and I saw it and I went, I kind of understand what this is, and I'm definitely 100% not going to play it.
You don't need to play it. Just like go look, you'll know exactly what that is. So yeah, that's AFK Journey. Chase, I do want to talk to you about Star Wars Outlaws.
Okay.
You'll recall this was my submission for Technically Terrible in our casual categories this year. And I stand by what I said with that. Late September, I think we didn't mention this because this game was getting ported over directly to the Steam storefront. And the creative director of this game, I think that's who it was, they basically kind of came out and said, hey, we know there's issues. We know that there's been some really unfortunate things with this game. We're working on it. And if you buy the game, everybody gets the first like story DLC, which is the Lando stuff, for free. And we are going to retool a lot of the things that you have all given us feedback on. We are committed to making this a good game. Whether that's Ubisoft trying to save their ass, which that happened today as well, or this is Disney saying, listen, you fucks, get your shit together. We can't have another flop here.
Yeah.
I remember you and I talking about it on the show, and you even brought it up whenever we were on Game of the Year time. This game, it wasn't terrible, like as far as like what it was trying to do. There was just some technical issues at the start of it. Like you went to kill an enemy and they would just like multiply from that one spawn point where the enemy was standing, and like the forgiveness level, like if you got caught on a stealth mission, which the game is stealth, you had to basically restart from the beginning where you had your last save, and that was super annoying. They've completely retooled that, and this is probably just my ignorance because it's been so long since the game came out to where I started playing it again. But I feel like the onboarding and the ramping up was handled differently. This game, I've been playing this game like every night since I picked it up on Steam.
Yeah.
The Star Wars in this game is so good, Chase. The Star Wars is Star Wars.
You love a Star War.
I love a Star War. I'm wearing a shirt and a hat tonight just to talk to you about this stuff. The mechanics of the game are actually really cool. Like when I'm at the point now where I've got my speeder, I've got my ship, I got my droid companion from the cover art for the game, and I'm like literally working 4 factions, and I'm kind of playing them against each other. I'm working up in the ranks with these factions, and I'm getting new shit from them. And it's so fucking dark and grimy and just cutthroat and gross on how they're doing it. But the open world, like just being on that speeder bike, cruising through these planets, hopping in the ship, the Trailblazer, going up, getting into a little dogfight, finding an old wreckage, scavenging that, going back down to a planet, picking up a few new contracts from these factions, telling the Hutts to go fuck themselves. You walk around a cantina, you can just like eavesdrop and pick up like random like stash and shit like that. Is this a perfect game? No. Was I maybe a little overly hard on it? Possibly. But I was pretty burned because it is Star Wars, which I care about.
Sure.
And it came in real hot. But I've been playing the shit out of Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh, I'm glad you've kind of turned a corner on it.
Yeah, man. And the last thing I'll talk to you about on this list is Wild Bastards. We briefly talked about this offline with Pierce and Jiggy when we were playing Helldivers the other night. And this is the spiritual successor to Void Bastards. But this is a run-based game where you are assembling a crew and you pick who you launch into these first-person shooter battles. And the way it works is your crew, each person of your crew acts like a different weapon. So on my mouse, if I was playing a first-person shooter and I use the scroll wheel, I typically grab another gun. Here, you just turn into the other character. And they each have like a unique ability, which is really fun. You're on a map, so you the overall map looks like your typical run-based map, but then you go into a star system and you land, and there's like power-ups and upgrades. These are aces; those are persistent. So you can go down and you can find things like beacons, which you can get a fast launch back up to your ship. So when you land on a map, your vessel breaks, and then there's a launch pad far away on the map. There's usually roaming enemies. There's roadblocks set up. There's a few shops on each one of these places. You can buy health, ammo, all this shit, upgrades, armor, etc. But you also find that stuff when you're doing drops. Each character can pick up a canteen, which lets them use their ultimate ability. And those can be simple things like, hey, throw out a clone of yourself. Another one might be for one of the characters that deals fire damage. You just start burning everybody around you, and that helps you find where people are at. I think this is
no, sorry. I turned on a Steam video and just the audio started playing, and I know it's not playing for everybody else, but it just hit me hard.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
oh, whoa, shit.
I think Wild Bastards is a better video game than Void Bastards.
Okay.
I'm really digging it.
Yeah, I kind of dig the art style. It has that, you know, flat cell shady look to it, and especially when you're getting into westerny style stuff, it has like an almost like Looney Tunes-esque Yosemite Sam kind of
It really
feel
does
to it, but like in 3D.
It's got really good voice acting. It's a fun mishmash of like Western and space. It reminds me of some of the SteamWorld games that way. Really cool character designs also. The judge has become one of my favorite. He's kind of the sharpshooter of the gang. And then I just unlocked, I can't remember her name right now, but she's a nun with a Gatling gun.
Sure.
And that works really well. I think the gun, like the barrels are crosses, if I'm not mistaken, or coffins, one or the other. It's a neat thing. When I first saw it, I thought it was going to be a co-op game, but no, this is just you're doing. And I'm not going to talk about it. But I'm just going to let you know I unlocked another ending to Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop, and it was a very bizarre, weird time. Sure. And that game is still very special.
Very nice.
So yeah, lots of stuff here, Chase. I've been a busy boy.
You certainly have been.
And I bought like 4 new games I'll be playing over the next few weeks. So I got some fun stuff to talk about in the weeks ahead.
Very nice.
But speaking of looking ahead, Chase, we got to talk a little bit about 2025. And do you want to start with what we're going to do or what we want to see done?
Let's start with what we want to see done. How about that?
Yeah, I told Chase to bring 3 things that the gaming industry should stop doing in 2025. And I think you might talk a little bit more about it here, but it goes without saying that we should stop laying fucking people off, making really poor decisions on how we treat people in studios and how we acquire them and shed them. So, Chase, you actually had that listed as something here. Do you want to speak more to that?
Yeah, I guess if I wanted to expand on that, I would just kind of say, like, stop making excuses. Like we've heard of so many excuses for why, we still need to lay these people off. We need to make business changes. We know that, like, we see the sales numbers. We know that games are still doing really, really well.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of just mismanagement. It's a lot of overly ambitious stuff. It's a lot of chasing the money men kind of stuff. And it's certainly not sustainable, as we've obviously seen. And I wish we would just stop making the excuses and just make games in a more sustainable, better way. Making cheaper, shorter, crappier games. Like I'm fine with that. Like
Yeah.
let's make
But
better, like
cheaper
let's
and
just
shorter
have
doesn't
a
have to be
better
crappier,
environment.
I don't think.
Right. Like we can make a better environment for games, and putting so much effort. When I say crappier, I don't mean I don't want the games to be bad, but I don't think we need to push the polygons as far as we have. Like, yes, a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 looks incredible, but it
Sure.
also ruined many studios' abilities to like put out a product and go, oh, this looks really nice, because everyone just can point to Red Dead 2 and go, oh, well, it doesn't look as nice as that. It's like, yeah, that's fucking Rockstar. It's never going to look as nice as that. That's
Well,
insane. You
I
look at
think
something like Baldur's Gate 3, and you're just like, well, our game needs to be as expansive. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's
yeah.
totally fine that somebody went out there and was nuts and made Baldur's Gate 3, and it was so expansive and so amazing that people rallied around it. But not every game coming forward needs to be Baldur's Gate 3. You don't need to shove all that shit in there. It is perfectly fine to make your style of game on your style of budget. And I think it's been proven out that you can find success by being true to yourself. And I wish we wouldn't keep kind of chasing the dragon that is higher graphics or giant expansive games that are ridiculously expensive. When
I got really bad news for you.
Oh, I'm sure. I've also read the news.
NVIDIA just announced their most powerful graphical processors yet in the up to the 5090s, and I agree with you, man. Like
because what do you do at that point? Like,
what do you mean?
I can look at a PlayStation 5 game on my TV and go, this looks incredible.
Yeah.
And somebody goes, well, it looks like shit because it's not like a 5090. And I'm like, well, it looks amazing. What do you mean?
Well,
like we've reached the peak. Like the diminishing returns that we're getting. Like, yes, going from the NES to the Super Nintendo, what an incredible jump. Like going from the Super Nintendo to the N64, what an incredible jump. Going from the N64 to the GameCube, pretty good jump. And you're just at some points you're like, it doesn't look all that much better than what it used to look like. It's fine.
I will tell you in your untrained eye that there is in the last decade, like look at a game that launched on the PS4 and look at a game that came out last year in 2024. There's a big jump there, but I agree with you. Like it's not as extensive as
come on. There's a jump, but is there a big jump? Is there a jump to the same size of the NES to the Super Nintendo?
No, I don't think it's that big by no stretch. But I think
that's why this generation has to sell itself.
Is not right though, because there are big things environmentally that are happening with lighting, elements, particles, things that you have on screen. There's a lot more happening at once than there ever has been in games.
But I feel like there is so much more of a push towards like load times. It's like, oh, we got the load times way down. It's like, yeah, because you're running out of like shit to throw at our eyes to say this looks better. So you had to just find a new thing to say, well, I guess we can do this slightly better now. It's games have looked good for a really long time.
I think that you're blaming the wrong things on iterative updates, though, because if you look at the industry outside of gaming, like somebody like an Apple who has shipped incremental updates at the same price tag on an annual basis, kind of basically telling people that you have to consume a new version of what you have on an annual level. And I think that kind of led to some of these other problems that we've looked at. Beyond graphics, you've got people churning out annual big blockbuster shit like a COD, or what Ubisoft has now fucking fallen face first into with what they did with Assassin's Creed and other stuff. I think that ties into what you're talking about, because it's not just we've put more into it or we've done these things or we're putting more polygons on there. It's that we're trying to tell you that we have to outdo that on an annual level now, where it used to be you would have something that came out, years would go by, maybe even a generational leap, to your point. Like you might have a game that came out on the Super Nintendo. Okay, cool. We had that game there, and now we've got a follow-up or something sharing the same name on a 64. I had
Mm.
Pilot Wings here. I have Pilot Wings here. This is my new Pilot Wings. I like it. I love it. There's some cool shit that goes into it. That's a poor example, but I'm just.
Yeah, I guess to my point, I think about sports games. We've had this
Yes.
conversation in the past that you have a sports game and it's an annual franchise, and you
Yeah.
go from like the 93 video game to the 94 edition of the video game, and you go, wow, and the developers can make trailers to be like, look at how shit the 93 version, look at how great the 94 version looks. And I look at, you know, the Madden from 2023 and the Madden from 2024 and go, these are indistinguishable video games.
Yeah.
And all you can tell me is like, oh, I don't know, we added like a mode, or like the players are slightly more realistic. It's like, how? They already looked fucking realistic. Like we look at a racing game and it's like the tires can only be so much more round.
I have to laugh at this. I'm sorry. I have to laugh at this with you because you are the least graphically focused person I know. You play exclusively on the Nintendo Switch on any game that you could play on your PC or your PS5.
Yes.
And
because I'm happy. I'm happy with the graphics I've gotten now. I would like us to innovate more in the game making stuff. And I feel like a lot of developers are still so focused on let's make the prettiest thing possible. And it's like they already look pretty.
But I think
because they've turned you into a person who has to like talk about RTX and lighting effects and the number of Ks, and
I have
like,
news for you, Chase.
Look at what they've done to my beautiful friend. He used to like video games, and now he only cares about 5090s and it's frame refresh rates and blah blah blah.
I want it to be playable. The thing of it is, though, if I have an option to play the best version of something, which I do, why on earth wouldn't I play it that way?
Sure, absolutely. And I'm not begrudging you for doing that. I'm begrudging them for continuing to build, like, putting bigger and bigger amounts of money into a thing that is getting lesser and lesser of a jump.
Where I think that this is an interesting conversation is you don't necessarily have to have what you're like. I can still be a stickler for how a game looks, sounds, and feels. I'll use Summer House. That game looks phenomenal.
Totally.
I would not.
Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop. That game is not pushing the polygons to its limits, but it is doing something really fun and really innovative and really enjoyable in like the writing and all these other things that they are pushing. And I think I would like video games to do more of that and less of, we made another Horizon Zero Dawn that looks just as pretty as the last one. And in fact, we're going to make another HD remake of The Last of Us that looks indistinguishable from the last HD remake you made of The Last of Us. What are you doing? Stop doing this.
Yeah, I think that I am of two minds here, and I've got the receipts to prove it, that I don't always have to have the best looking game to enjoy it. And I feel there are things happening around that conversation. I think that you could make a very pretty game a shorter game. I think that you could make a longer game look less.
Like that first Hellblade was like a short game that looked incredible and pushed a lot of stuff, and people really loved it.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying I need the games to look ugly. Like it's fine if you want to make a pretty game that pushes the graphics. Great, but I think it's the amount that the industry has revolved around that being the real benchmark. That's what we're all aiming for, is the highest graphics.
I mean,
and I would like to say, why can't it be the most fun games that we're actually looking to make instead of the prettiest games? Why can't that be the goal?
Well, that's not unique to games. Like,
it's not. It's certainly not. And it's everywhere. But it's something we're talking about games now, and I think it's particularly prevalent in video games.
Is that your being so Hollywood? Because I don't think you have this written down. Are you trying to
being
clown
so Hollywood's a different thing?
Okay. All right. Well, so somehow we went from laying people off to graphics. That's an interesting conversation. Is that fucking around?
No, I think that's spending your money in the wrong spots. And that is because of all the money and all the budgets. I think you end up laying people off because of the way this industry is bending, and that's what I don't like.
Okay, I get that. That's fair.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to give away the goat here on your other two stuff, but I was trying to understand.
Yeah. No, you're just fucking around and you're finding out, and
I mean, you're the one. You've taken a very different stance than what number one says on this.
I expanded upon my thought. Yes.
Yeah, you built in a whole other argument in your argument, my friend. I know what you did here. I'm not going to talk about games. By the way, I've been playing this and this. You did your shit. I appreciate it. You did the chase.
I didn't talk about any video game. I said I played a tiny bit of Dragon Quest 3 and it's still good, and then I stopped.
What is fucking around mean, Chase?
Fucking around. You're gonna love this one, Bobby. Give us the shit we fucking asked for. Like, give us the shit you know we want. Where is that Wind Waker Twilight Princess HD coming to the Switch? Just port it already. It's so easy. Flip the fucking Switch. Literally.
Let me go and help Chase on his goddamn island in Animal Crossing. Let me go do that. Stop fucking around. Like, I don't want to just go get a tour. I want to fucking work. Put me to work.
Remake the Oracle game. I mean, these are all feeling like Zelda, and they're all definitely all feeling like Nintendo. But like, remake the Oracle games. You already made a whole new engine, and you've built 2 video games on it. Like, you can do this. It's easy.
I'm sorry, Chase.
It's not easy, but like, you've done it.
And for the love of God, you're going to give me the Dragon Quest 3 2D HD remake before you do anything uttering the words Chrono Trigger out of your mouth? Like, we have not touched Chrono Trigger.
Sure. I mean, yes, you are. I mean, I've already played Chrono Trigger, so I feel okay about that. But yeah, and also I still think you can go and play Chrono Trigger right now, and it looks gorgeous, and you should probably play it. But sure, if you want to if you want to make just a bunch of money, Chrono Trigger HD 2D, why not? Just
or do the Final Fantasy treatment to it. Make that thing fucking crazy.
It took them so long to get like that pixel remaster out, and you're like, this seems like the easiest slam dunk in the world, and they still fucked it up with like, oh well, we kind of changed the text a little bit.
Sony,
like, don't do that. Give people the video games they want.
How many were there? 301, right? 301 bots in Astrobot that you had to go and find and collect. Yeah. You have 300 bots that you can do something with. Right. All of your power at Sony.
Like, look at the studio made like a whole Loco Roco level in this, and everyone loves it. And you're like, nah, we probably don't need to make any more Loco Roco. Stop fucking around. Give us games that we like.
When's the last time we had a Mario Paint, motherfuckers?
well, it's been a while. We've only gotten one of those.
I know. It was what, 92?
Yeah. It's wild to me that these companies
show us the goddamn Switch. If I see one more leak of that fucking console, you cowards.
I'm not. Hey, here's a video game that I'm not necessarily excited to play, but also it is wild that it hasn't been re-released in some form or fashion. I know it will be eventually. Metal Gear Solid 4. That game has only ever been on the PlayStation 3.
Yep.
That is, we are 2 console generations past that at this point, and we've heard basically nothing. Like, yeah, it's eventually going to come as part of this Metal Gear collection, but like, Konami, you know people want this. You know people would buy this. You could make a lot of money on this. You're doing it. Giving like the Metal Gear Solid 3 treatment, the Delta thing, and that's fine. But like, that game is available. Like, that game's around. You know what game's not around for people to play? It's Metal Gear Solid 4. What are you doing?
And fucking Bethesda, you got to stop what you're doing. You have to stop.
Yeah, can I actually just change my number 1 to Bethesda? Like, 3 things the gaming industry should stop doing in 2025. Bethesda. Just that's it. Let's please stop.
Somebody said today, like I guess it was yesterday or the day before, that the trailer for the Elder Scroll 6 is now the same age that Skyrim was when they announced the next Elder Scrolls game.
So that's on your list. Why don't you just keep expanding on that?
Yeah. So I put up, like, not in any order here, but I have it's my second one listed, announcing games years in advance. I get excited about this. I think I get overly excited, and that's probably why I hate this, is because and this honestly ties into what you were talking about. they announce shit and then stuff happens. They got to add more to it, expand it out, make it look better. The length of time to put games out has increased. The amount of people to put games out has increased. But stop fucking announcing games years in advance. At the Game Awards this year, we're seeing 2026, maybe like not even in a date on there. Like, bring in that fucking trailer. I know everybody loves Shadow of the Colossus, but like, that was the most bullshit fucking thing. It was a demo at best of technology. No date. When's the next time we're going to hear about this? Years from
probably
now?
not for a while. So here's my like counterpoint to that. There was a while where people were arguing the other way of, hey idiot, we know you're making an Elder Scrolls 6. Like, don't lie to us and say like, oh, I don't know. Like, this isn't like the you look at the movie industry and they announce movies starting to be made all the time, and then they don't always all get made, and we understand that. That's just the way it works, and lots of shit happens in Hollywood, and they've and as that one's kind of mine, like, stop being so Hollywood, but and that's maybe a small extension of that, but games tried to be more like movies and be like, okay, yes, we know that we're making an Elder Scrolls 6. Here's like a little teaser about it, just to like get it out there. Yes, we're making a Metroid Prime 4. It's gonna happen. It's happening. Stop asking about it. My thing, I think, to like not counter, but to like add to yours or like clarify a little bit, I would just like them to be a little bit more open and honest about the building process. That see closer to like Double Fine. I would yes, Double Fine did like all these documentaries, and that's probably too much the other way, plus all like the production stuff that goes into that. But I think you're getting a lot more games that have been kickstarted that will come in and go like, here's a progress report. It's here's like an asset that we made, and it just makes you feel like, okay, things are moving forward. This thing looks nice. This thing doesn't look nice, but I can see where they're coming from and they are working on it. I understand that you don't want constant feedback from people. You don't want to like put something in a big, there's no E3 anymore, but you don't want to put something in a big Summer Games Fest trailer and then have people go, oh, that looks like shit. And because you streamed it out to millions of people. But I think there has to be a happy middle ground where you can show, here's a sword we made in Elder Scrolls 6. And yes, the game is still a long way out, but we're giving you something so people can know that it's happening and not just feel like they've been abandoned.
There's too many ways now for people to test things. Like, somebody could show up at the next Steam Next Fest with an unannounced game. Hey, everybody, today we're going to tell you about a game we've been working on. We're super excited about it. And you can actually play a demo of that right now on the Next Fest. Go do that. Let us know what you think. Check it out. Or better yet, like, just throw the demo up on whatever, storefront you're going to put the game out on. We want to get your feedback on it. We want to get some of this. Like, I look at a game like Hades. I do not think Hades would have been the hit it was had they not brought in a community to help them make that game.
Sure, but you can't do that with every game. Like, that's like, some games are better tuned to that kind of stuff. But like, even like another example would be Bungie. I'm not saying Bungie's perfect. Obviously, Bungie is very much not perfect, especially not these days. But I think there was something about, they had this weekly, this week at Bungie, the TWAB, where they give you a little hint about things that are happening. We are talking directly to our community about the things we're changing and fixing. Here's like a little preview of something that's about to happen. And maybe even there's like a little Easter egg that, we're not talking about it, but it's there. And if somebody wants to look at it, and that's tough. It's tough doing community management. It's tough to coordinate that with developers and schedules and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's a lot better, to your point, than showing us a trailer and then waiting 5-10 years for us to get any sort of response that anything's happening with that game, other than somebody going, it's still in development.
Or like, who's the ones that made Firewatch? Playground?
Oh, Campo Santo. Yeah,
Campo Santo.
That's now part of
they had put out that trailer for that gorgeous period piece Egyptian base game.
Well, I think they said they canceled that one
when they got acquired.
Yeah.
That's my point is that in this day and age, especially with the acquisitions happening across smaller studios, where things like that could happen, where you get people very invested in what your house brand is and what you're doing, and then to have that completely just shelved is a fucking bummer. Like,
It is, but like I understand when that stuff happens. It's just again back to your main point of like an Elder Scrolls 6. We know that game's happening. You know that game's
yeah,
happening. Just show us that it's just continue to show that it's real. And like give us something. I know you're very scared that something's going to show up and somebody's going to pick it apart and dissect it, and they probably will. And that's another thing that should stop in the game industry and the game enthusiast industry as well, is to just be a little fucking more chill about the preview coverage that's out there.
well,
Um,
and
but it
I mean
sucks to just be left in the dark for years and years.
that also ties into like my other point here, which
Yeah.
they create such a they create such this like FOMO, and if you're not playing it early, it's like gonna get spoiled or people are gonna put shit up, and that's a big thing in the day and age of social media. But these like, hey, if you buy the deluxe or if you pre-order the game, you get access to a closed beta. You can play the game. If you spend $10 more on the game, you get it 3 days early. Like, that shit's fucking stupid. I hate that
Yeah.
so much, but I fall victim for it. Like, they're Avowed, they have a whole banner dedicated on Game Pass for that game, which I think comes out in February, where it's like, hey, if you subscribe to Game Pass, you're going to get this game for free, but we have a discount right now. If you pay us $20 some, we'll let you get like the deluxe version of the game, and that comes with 10-day or 5-day early access to playing it. And of course you're like, well, I'm already going to be playing this game, I'm excited for this game. Yeah, why not? Like, why wouldn't I do this? And it's like those types of things that then again, you get into a situation where you're paying to play something that could be fucking broken, like Star Wars Outlaws, going back to that. The people who paid Ubisoft $140, I think, or $130 for the biggest version that had all the things in it. This game came out in such a state they couldn't play it, and then Ubisoft had to erase everything. And they're like, well, here's a collectible that you could have got from watching Twitch, and that was their solution to it. So I just think that this is such a dumb thing that like you could only get access. Like, if you're gonna launch it early, launch it early. Like, just do that and be done with it.
Yeah, again, I think you see it in film and stuff like that. Oh, we had a sneak preview or we had a premiere, like the secret premiere that we showed to these people, and it's still not coming out for another, or we showed it off at Sundance and it'll still be out in a couple months, but these are the only people who got to see it for this stretch. And it feels cool to be exclusive, but at the same time, like if your game's done, why not just put it out? Like, like stop. I guess that goes back to fucking around, but like, just stop, just do it. Just put it out there. As like a preservationist kind of person, like, what do I call your game's release date going forward? Like, if I'm archiving something, do I go, oh, do I put the official release date? Do I put the first date that anybody could play it? I know nobody cares about that until much later, when all the money when all the money stuff goes away, and it doesn't matter to those people anymore. But eventually somebody's going to go, when did this game come out? Like, there's some people now that look back and go, we don't know the exact date that the original Super Mario Brothers came out. It's still a mystery. There's lots of competing information about like when places broke sale date, or but there was no sale date. Like, there's receipts that we've gotten, but we haven't gotten a full consensus on like when it first came out. And it feels like we're going to end up having a generation of video games that we also are unable to say that, because like, when did it actually come out? And we're going to have arguments about it, and it's going to be stupid.
Well, like, what becomes the definitive version of it? Is it the Last of Us 2 remaster that now has like, that is the game that you can buy? Because they pull them, man. Like, Sony pulled
like you look at the Grand Theft Auto, right? Like they did like the Grand Theft Auto definitive versions of Vice City and 3, and those were terrible. It is. They were terrible, and they also ripped out the old decent versions, and then that's what you were stuck with, and that's terrible. Yeah, game preservation just generally. I will say for the paying to play early access, I barely play the video games I do buy, so that's never affected me. I've never I've never been suckered into like, oh, do you want to play this game 5 days early? It's like, dude, I'm barely gonna play this game
This is
5 days from now.
This is like my toxic trait. I was collecting vinyl a lot heavier, 10 years ago than I am today. I still get one occasionally, but it's not cheap. And so if I'm looking at something where I'm going to make an effort to buy a physical version of it, I'm like, all right, I can buy this vinyl for 30, 40 bucks, whatever it is. But they have like 60 to $70, almost double it. But I get a lot of the cool shit that makes owning something physical that much more. Like Absolute Batman, I'm buying that as it comes out with the alternate covers on it because I care about it. I decided this is how I'm going to do it. And it's like, if I'm making the effort to go beyond my iPad or go beyond my computer or whatever it is to read something and own it and have a piece of it, I did the Scott Pilgrim 20th anniversary box because I care about that. It's important to me. I want to own this. I want to look back and physically hold it. So I'm going to put the money into it. So I end up getting into the situation where I go to buy this game. I'm like, all right, I'm already committing to this game at $70. What is $80 to $90 more? I'm not more, but in total to get this and have it. Like,
what if I had the Persona outfits in Metaphor Refantasio? And as a person who didn't get those Persona outfits, didn't bother me at all. And I like those Persona games, but it didn't bother me at all. And in fact, I still don't like some of the stuff in that game. Although still, I overall like the game.
That's the whole thing.
You don't need some of this shit.
Chase, do you want me to go or do you want to go?
I can go. Go. We can leave you for last. So yeah, my last one was Stop Being So Hollywood, which it kind of has two sides to it. The first one is I think we can just stop. We don't need more video game adaptations in film and TV.
I got news for you. That just got announced.
Oh, I know. Yes, I know. Sony just took a shit all over this thing that I'm asking.
I mean, I feel like you're talking about Sony here. I don't think you're talking about other people, right? Are you talking about Sony?
No, I'm talking about everybody, and I understand that. Yes, I might be sacrificing some of the good stuff. Like the Mario movie was pretty good. Those Sonic movies are generally pretty good. I haven't seen the third one yet. There is some stuff out there. I think the Last of Us show, had some issues, but was generally well received. It sounds like season 2,
April.
Probably pretty good. I still don't really care about The Last of Us Part 2, so I don't really need to see Abby, but I'm going to, I guess. So yes, we would lose out on some things that are genuinely pretty good, or at least good enough to be like, yeah, that was solid. But when you got stuff like the Borderlands movie dragging you down, and I don't want this. I'm fine.
Are you saying that are you talking more like the Avengers game? Or are you talking about like
I'm talking a little bit about that too. Like that's the other side of the coin, but mainly it's like I just don't think we need to put video games on a movie screen or a television screen anymore. I think it's perfectly fine to let video games be video games.
You want my hot take?
Sure.
I think Marvel failing post-COVID, as they have been, like we've gone through genres that get really popular, and I feel like we still have superhero shit. Obviously, like that's alive and well with James Gunn doing stuff. But I do feel like video games have kind of become the final frontier for them with like Fallout TV shows, everything. Nintendo is strongly committed to going to the silver screen. Obviously, Sony's doing it. Microsoft has been trying to do it and not as successful. But yeah, I kind of feel just on an industry level, this is becoming something because it was avoided for so long because of how bad it used to be.
Right. And yeah, but like at least when they were bad before, they were bad in a fun way. And I just don't think they're bad in a fun way anymore.
That's fair.
And I would think I would just rather them stop, especially because, and this is the other side of the coin, I feel like video games themselves are already aping movies so hard that it really has become a snake eating its own tail. Like a Helldivers movie, we have that. It's Starship Troopers. Like you You don't need to make a Helldivers movie when it's already based on a movie. You didn't really need to make a Last of Us TV show. You could just have somebody watch The Road. Like we have the stuff for this. Like
This is
you are
also
pulling
a
so
very
much.
big idiosyncrasy of you, though. Like you don't like to rewatch things or replay things. Like you are very much like a single serve user of content.
Maybe, yeah. I mean that is probably generally true for me, but I there's a difference between homage and just like wholesale taking. And I'm not saying that I think Helldivers 2 is bad because it basically wholesale took Starship Troopers. It sounds like it's a great video game and everybody's happy with it. But when the idea is like, okay, now that we're going to take our wholesale ripoff of Starship Troopers that we made into a video game and we're going to make it into a movie, like we have that. You were inspired by that to make this other thing, and now it's becoming the thing again. Like this is ridiculous. What are you doing? And that part bugs me because it just feels like it feels like the absolute depths of bottom of the barrel creativity that we're just out of ideas. And so I guess we just have to keep regurgitating into our own mouths the same shit that we had before. And it really is just that loss of originality in my eyes.
I don't know when it happened, but at some point the video games industry surpassed the film industry from monetization.
Yeah.
And
I think that was a while ago because again, like you were buying video games for $50-$60 instead of a movie ticket for, 7 to 12 at the time. And so it's just easier to make more money in that sense. But yes, go on.
I just feel that where we have a Sony or a Warner Brothers makes a bit more sense to me on paper. We make movies. We are a movie studio. We do this thing. We make TV and movies, but we also have a gaming division now. So we're going to be putting this shit out. Annapurna, another one. Like I knew them well before video game publisher, but I just think it's probably not that people aren't adapting books. It happens all the time still, but I think adapting video games now, they are very cinematic. They're probably an easy storyboard to follow. I think that oftentimes you've got now, especially you've got Hollywood actors portraying characters that you could easily just have them come over and do it here. Yeah. It seems like where they would go, because I think that there's just a creatively bankrupt approach right now in Hollywood.
Sure. Nobody wants that's because they're all screwed too, because they're still trying to scratch back after COVID. So they're looking for the closest thing to a sure bet, which, a video game comes in and goes, well, I've got this many million players. That's, and we're not a sequel, and we know people hate sequels these days, but like you can come in and go, oh, well, that's a guaranteed audience in the same way that a sequel would generally make you feel like you have a guaranteed audience. So I understand why they're doing it. It just sucks because when you make a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, the further on you go, the less detail you get until you just get a blank page. And that's just where I feel like we're getting to at this point is we've copied our copies so much that they're just nothing. And that's a bummer. I know everybody steals, like that's like the whole creativity thing. There's no originality. Everybody steals from everybody. But when you steal wholesale like that and then regurgitate it back onto the same media that there was there before, I think tired of that.
It's weird. Like this is just a me thing, but for people kind of like yourself who are very into sports and follow them with the enthusiasm that they do, it feels, like that. I go to a baseball game. That feels exactly the same way as it did to me when I was a kid as it does today. I think that there's something like super repetitive about sports that people just pour money into and watch and consume. And while talent changes and you might have somebody who comes along and kind of redefines a sport in some way, like a Tiger Woods, it was his time for a long time. Before him, there was, Jack Nicklaus and all those other guys that did the game. Like, it's just one of those things where they bring their own spin and excitement to it. I look at it the same way, like we're just like kind of doing the same thing over and over and over again with like sports in general, because there's a very different approach to it. Like you go and you consume it. I don't know exactly how I want to land the plane on that,
No,
but to me,
I get you. I think in my head, and I don't want to get too into the details of this, but I think there is like a thing your brain goes to of if I'm going to go watch golf or I'm going to go watch a baseball game, I'm in the headspace that I kind of know what I'm getting. I'm getting 9 innings of baseball.
yeah.
Maybe 8.5 if I'm lucky, right? Uh, maybe we'll get home a little bit early, but I think you already are in that mode where I'm here for a nostalgic time
Mm-hmm.
and it'll still be fun. And I'm not sure I necessarily come to a movie or a video game to feel the exact same way I felt another time. Like I'm looking for kind of a new experience in that. And
Yeah.
sometimes, especially in like the video game world, maybe you're not. Maybe you are looking for something that feels a lot like the thing you just did. Um, but especially in movies, I think the whole point is you don't just want to make a straight remake. Like I don't know if I haven't heard like the full reviews on Nosferatu. I've heard some people really like it, and I've
It's
heard some
so
people really
good.
hate it.
It's so good.
Um, but like you do something different with that movie. It is not just a remake of
Oh yeah, it's very
Nosferatu.
different.
Like you're saying something different with that movie. It's for a different time. It's for a different audience. It might be something that is speaking to the things that people remember about that first movie, about that original movie, and playing with those ideas. And I'm sure that a Helldivers movie could play with the ideas of Starship Troopers, but also Starship Troopers was already playing with the ideas of a long lineage of movies and genre fiction
Yeah.
already. And it gets back to that copy of a copy thing that I'm not feeling so hot on. Like if somebody remade Nosferatu again next year, like how would you feel? It's like we just had that. We just did this.
I
And
mean,
what are you saying about this that you weren't saying about the other one?
yeah. I mean, I think that like Marvel's been pretty bad about that. I think all the Batman,
I
the
agree. And I
Spider-Man,
think
all
that's
that.
what's led to a lot of the just being tired of Marvel stuff. Like we're all
Mm-hmm.
kind of exhausted and that is part of the problem as well. Like they told a big story through Avengers that kept a lot of people through, and then Avengers ended and we got kind of an ending, and a lot of people left it and we're like, okay,
I mean,
we're kind of done, and they just kind of kept going anyway,
I think the last
like
thing
a
I'll say on
shambling
that, because
corpse.
I know we're getting close to time here, is you live in a remix culture, man. Like you're not really like on a pop culture level, Chase. You
Yeah,
have you are so connected and set so far away at the same time. Like something like a TikTok that has completely changed the landscape of like video creation. Music has been like chopped, slowed down, sped up, dances made
totally.
to it.
I
Hey,
like girl talk. Like
yeah,
that's a whole thing about chopping and screwing the sounds from before.
but it's also 20 years old at this point.
Sure,
And
but the idea of sampling at least
oh
into
yeah,
into music
but
is
it's
huge
not
as
just
well.
that, dude. It's like everybody's like, hey, this is the latest TikTok dance trend. So everybody's doing the same fucking thing to the same fucking song,
Right.
not different than the next person, but yet they still make it and put it out there because they're adding one little flair. It's just
Right. I mean, that's getting into like algorithm stuff of like, well, I'm
totally.
only doing this because the algorithm says I can get on to more
Well,
people's screens
I
this
think
way.
I think there's an algorithm that these motherfuckers are chasing with this stuff too.
Totally. And I think all of them suck.
They do 100%. The last thing I have on here, man, I know you like this game a lot more than I do. It's a good game. It's a great game, but Chase, we've got to drop the fucking Survivor game. Like Vampire Survivor came out, it was a very cool thing, but I'm so tired of every game being a bullet heaven shooter
Yeah.
Survivor. And it's to me, it's like, we're pivoting. We don't know what to do here. We've got this thing. Like, just stop making it. As much as I love Deep Rock Survivor, I think it's a great game. I'm sick of opening up a game that is a little person that has millions of bullets going away from their body as swarms come through. I just cannot keep playing that game. Like, stop making it. We have the best version of it already.
I thought for sure I knew I was wrong, but I still thought for sure that this was going to be something about crafting games, like survival crafting
Hell
games.
no.
And of course not. Like Bobby's like, yeah, I want more. Give me more. Give me more of the same shit.
You're thinking of survival, not
Yes. Oh,
survivor.
silly me.
But yeah, I felt like this was just so many people. Again, algorithm chasing trends, doing that. It's
Yeah.
like, fuck, games as a service sucks right now. We have to stop trying to do that. Go take all that stuff and put it in a blender in Unity and make this thing. Okay.
We all tried making Souls games there for a while. Some people were better at it than others.
Yeah.
Some people still are better at it than others.
Yeah.
But it's like a hot popular indie game. It's Vampire Survivors. I can make one of those. Tony Stark made one when he was in a cave.
Yes. Yes, dude. I just
like how many Balatro likes do you think we're going to get in the next like 1 to 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, Polygon has an article out of that billionaire game that I told you about. Like,
sure,
that's the one's like Plinko or whatever that game is where you drop shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think Polygon used that game as a, hey, you're not going to make a Balatro, everybody, so don't even try. Like, I can't remember what it was exactly, but
they're still going to try.
I know that this was a lightning in a bottle moment in the industry where this little thing came out and blew people's socks off. That's great. It deserves the flowers. We gave them a lot ourselves here on the show, but I move on, do something else.
Well, I think I think the big problem is that I think people are going to take the wrong lessons from Balatro, and they're going to go, oh, I should do something with playing cards. Oh, I should do something with gambling. Oh, I should do something with like thematic things, when I think they should be looking more at the mechanical interest that game does, or like more of the like originality stuff that it was going for. Yeah. And I think those should be the things that should inspire you as you make your game, not necessarily, oh, here are the trappings, here are the aesthetics that I can pull from and just, put something together that's very similar, and hopefully I can ride that wave. Because that's I don't think there actually is a wave. I think there is a group of people who like a thing, and you making something extremely similar does not translate over to instant successor sales.
All right, we need to get into our resolutions here, and Chase, as we wrap up our show tonight, what is your 2025 resolution?
So I was looking back at my 2024 resolutions, and I think I did okay. I don't know if I necessarily played a lot more handheld games, but I still love handheld games, and I think I played some, and I was happy with it. I didn't actually commit more time to itch.io games. I think I did that for a while and then kind of slowed down. I did do a very consistent job with Chasey K Plays this last calendar year. I put out something for 52 straight weeks. That's every week. There's only 52 in a year, Bobby. I did it. So I felt good about that. And then not really a video game thing, but I did read those Magic the Gathering Kamigawa novels, and they were okay. They were just fine. And there was one more that I ended up not doing. And so you know what? It's now for 2025. Chase Koeneke, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna beat A Link to the Past. To be fair, I did basically beat A Link to the Past. I just played Echoes of Wisdom, and I had a really good time.
To be fair, and then you beat A Link to the Past, and you played A Link Between Worlds, which is literally a remix.
That's also true. That's another Zelda game that I've finished. Of like the 3 or 4 Zelda games I've finished, 2 of them have basically been A Link to the Past. Yeah. So I should probably just beat A Link to the Past sometime this year. Yeah. And I will. Yeah. I think. Probably. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try to beat A Link to the Past this year. Bobby, how about you? What's your resolution?
Stop staying up so late to play games.
All right. Well, I guess we got to go to bed right now.
We have to go to bed right now. I stay up way too late playing games. That's why I play so many of them. But I need to either figure out another time to play them or play less of them. And I think either one of those solutions will be good. But I just need to stop staying up so late. I'm getting old, Chase.
It sucks. I feel it. I was on my feet for like more hours than I usually am as I was out of town, and every night I was like, the heels of my feet hurt so bad. My back hurts. I am so old, and I'm not even that old.
I turned 40 this year, so this has been kind of an eye-opening experience for me on that front, and we'll see how it goes. But I don't know if I'll be starting that tonight because it's my Friday. So I'm gonna stay up a little bit and play some Star Wars and have a good time with that. But this week, Chase, I hung out without you on Monday. You got too tired from shoveling snow, and I had a really good little session of Tactical Breach Wizards. I did the anxiety mission where you are arguing with yourself as Jin. And it was some of the better writing I experienced from last year. It was very well
cool.
done. But yeah, that game continues to be very good. I think I'll finish that probably this year through Monday nights. I'm halfway there, I think, maybe a little over halfway there. And then tonight, which it still says Wednesday, I apologize about that, was episode 406, what you've been playing, where we told you about the games I've been playing and our resolutions. And tomorrow night, friend of the show, Phil, is going to be joining me, and we're going to be palling around in Pal World, and I'm finally going to get around to showing you all my base. So come tune in for that, and you can follow all the links for our show right there in chat. And Chase, what do you got going on?
New series alert! I have a new series for Chasey K Plays. I'm gonna keep on doing some more stuff for Chasey K Plays this year. Maybe not as consistently as in 2024. I don't know if I'm necessarily gonna keep to the weekly schedule, but at least for now I am. It's gonna make Bobby real happy. I'm also playing a Star War in series called Go Play a Star War. Bobby named it. Bobby helped me name it. Bobby made an incredible thumbnail for it. It is, I think, maybe his best work. It's really good.
It's up there.
I was out of town, so I didn't actually post about it when it went up, but it is live. The first episode of Go Play a Star War, where I am playing the original Star Wars Battlefront. I'm just going through the campaign. And who knows, maybe I'll play more Star Wars in the future. But you can go check that out, that series on Chasey K Plays. And then I've also got Pilot Program, the podcast I do with my good friend Pierce Porchane and friend of our show. It's about television shows. We watched the first episode of every television show ever made. Our last episode was on A Cook's Tour, the Anthony Bourdain Food Network show, which was really good. We had a good conversation about it. We're recording our next episode next week, and that'll be on the anime Gunbuster, which is one of my favorites. Pierce hasn't seen it, and I'm looking forward to showing him that, and then we'll see what happens after that. So go check that out, shows.acast.com/pilotprogram, and I'll post about it when it's actually up and out.
Oh yeah, very cool. Keep an eye out for all of our updates as we put them on the web. You have the links there, and you have the links in your notes if you're listening to our show. Chase, glad you made it home. Thanks for hanging out, and we will be live again Friday,